got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P.
So today's guest is Ben Gibbard, lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie and I guess Postal Service too. And also an ultrarunner, which is what we're here to talk about since this is a running podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, definitely. So you are fresh off a finish at Western States. Thomas, you were there.
I was there, but before we get into Western States,
all right.
like I think some people would be interested to know, how did you get into ultra running in the first place? Yeah, let's start with that. Start from the start.
Yeah, so I had started running in 2007, 2008. It coincided, although it was not the result of my getting sober. I got sober in 2008, and it wasn't as if, I drank my last drink, woke up the next morning and threw on some trainers and started running. I'd been running a little bit before that. And in 2011, I ran the LA marathon. I kind of skipped past half marathon. I was like, well, why do a half? Just do the whole thing. Was kind of my attitude,
Right.
which
It sounds
also
similar.
was kind of my attitude. Was my attitude with my drinking as well. Why drink half the bottle of Jack Daniels? When you got the whole thing right there.
Bottle there.
I mean, it's there. It needs to be conquered.
Exactly. So I ran the LA Marathon. I didn't like it, but I did enjoy. To this day, I always say it's one of the, if not the hardest, one of the hardest things I've ever done. And 6 months later, or whatever, I was living back in Seattle. And I was going to be in San Francisco for a long weekend and was looking for something to do running wise. And I didn't feel up to running a whole marathon, and there weren't any happening the weekend I was going to be in San Francisco. But there happened to be something. I found a race called the Golden Gate 30K, and I saw there were some other distances there, but I just thought Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco, 30K. What is that? 18 miles? I could do that. So I signed up for this 30K, and the race starts. I don't know how familiar you are with the Marin Headlands, but it starts at Rodeo Beach. Okay, it starts at so it starts at Rodeo Beach. So it's I drive out there. I go over the bridge. I take a left. I go through a big tunnel. I end up at the beach, and I'm kind of looking around, going like, what is this? Where are we going? Are we going back on the road we came in? I don't know.
No.
And so I turn to somebody and I say, hey man, where does this race go? And they look at me like I'm insane. They're like, you were going up there. And it was up over, these kind of little small mountains that kind of drop down in Tennessee Valley. And it turns out I'd signed up for a trail race inadvertently. And I was wearing Brooks Adrenaline road shoes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
I mean,
Brooks
the Marin
Adrenaline road
Headlands
shoes.
is destructive in any case. I can't imagine showing up and not knowing what you're in for, because the Marin Headlands is like you're either going up or down, and it's aggressive in each direction.
It is, yeah, and so I'm wearing Brooks Adrenaline. I've got some kind of dumb hydro pack on my back, and then I'm in it. And I think at one point going up some big climb out of Tennessee Valley, I said to no one in particular, it's too real. And then we end up kind of running down along Pirates Cove, and we do this loop. And by the end of it, my quads were destroyed. My legs were shredded, but I had such a fucking good time. It was so much fun. And it was really one of those moments where I wasn't aware really that people ran on trails. I didn't know this was a thing people did. And there were people running, there was a 50K option as well. And I was talking to people who were running that. And one thing led to another. And I just fell in love with, I started signing up for races, local races in the Seattle area. I started familiarizing myself with, just the sport and its athletes and the famous races and started. I ran chucking up 50K. That was my first 50K, and then just started
Nice.
kind of trying bigger and bigger things, and the
Can I
rest
ask
is kind of
you?
history.
Can I ask you a question back to the Golden Gate 30K? I think this is a weird thing about trail racing. I want to know if it happened to you. There was a 30K and a 50K option. Now, you really suffered through the 30K that day. And when you heard there was a 50K, were you like, oh, geez, I only did the small one?
No, because I didn't realize until that day that people ran further than a marathon, which I think
Okay.
is a common, maybe less common now that ultra running
Right.
has become a little bit more. I would never say mainstream. It's still a niche within a niche, uh, but like many people who start doing the sport, I was unaware that a human could run farther than a marathon. I thought that
Yeah.
was that was the extent, that was the outer limit of human capability. Um,
Right.
and boy, was I wrong. So
When so you didn't grow up running at all. You strictly got into it later in life.
I grew up a swimmer. I swam
Okay.
competitively from the time I was a little kid through high school. Played some baseball, but no, I never liked running. And I
So the,
think Yeah, I didn't
okay.
like it. And I remember being at a gym in 2007 and being on an elliptical or something like that and looking over at a treadmill and wondering if I could run 2 miles. I was like, I wonder if I could run 2 miles.
I mean, that seems
Um,
like a lot when you don't run. 2 miles is a far distance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have unsurprisingly, I'm kind of an all or nothing person. The switch is on or it's off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is, as one might imagine, has gotten me into some trouble in my life. But it's also been a trait that has, I think, in some ways, gotten me to where I am in my career, and also allowed me to kind of push through a lot of discomfort as a runner.
Yeah. Something
I
that's kind of interesting, though,
uh-huh.
is you were saying how you were coming through and getting sober, and that's kind of when the running started for you. Robbie and I both started later in life. As a matter of fact, I was going through a rough period with my father passing away, and I started in my 30s running. And you were on my playlist at that time. And when I was going through that stuff, when we were going to have you on the show, I started listening back to, Postal Service and pulling up some Death Cab for Cutie and stuff. And it takes me back to that time when I started. And I was wondering, one, if you're listening to music when you started running or using that as a part of your running tool. And I'm going to have two questions. Do you remember what you were listening to if you were? And then two, you just ran Western States.
Mhm.
Is there a soundtrack from Western States that in 10 years you'll look back and be like,
Mm,
that was my Western States
mm.
time?
Yeah. When I first started running, I guess I was listening to a lot of like 90s boom bap, hip hop, and indie rock and stuff like that. I can't recall uh, a particular record or band that I was listening to a lot when I first started running. But going into Western States, uh, I had a bunch of stuff queued up. I downloaded a bunch of stuff to my phone. I had three or four like old Metallica records. I had the new Turnstile record. I
Oh
had
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
yeah, which is
Baltimore
great.
represent.
I had a bunch of, and I love that new Turnstile record. I was planning on listening to it. That was going to be the record that I was going to use to dig myself out
The,
of some
their
holes.
drummer's been on the podcast, so
Oh,
Yeah.
has he
you
really?
guys
Oh,
now
awesome,
have
man. Well,
a degree of
those guys are
separation.
those guys are amazing. I think they're kind of they kind of seem to be doing right now what the Refused was doing for hardcore in the '90s, as far as just this really kind of interesting,
Totally.
I mean, it's exciting to have
kind of
bands back.
yeah, and also yeah, just they're doing this reinterpret. They're just really kind of I see them bringing in a lot of colors into kind of this hardcore kind of vibe that they have that is just are just really interesting and really kind of inventive and creative.
For
But
sure.
I had some just essentials playlists like Descendants Essentials, Depeche Mode, The Cure, But I'm sure we'll get into it. But I usually I tend to use music as a treat. So if I get past a certain mileage, or I'm in a hole and I need to dig out of it, I'll use it. But it's not something I start ultras with. I never start with headphones in. It's usually something that I'll do later in the race, to give myself a boost.
Oh, that's
But I
brilliant. I
find
like
music,
that tip.
but I find music can be difficult on ultras because songs have a way of marking time. You know how much time has gone by. You know, a
Yeah.
song is 3 or 4 minutes, and sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes uh, I want the to just be in a flow state and not be thinking about time. But
Yeah.
my favorite band is a Scottish band called Teenage Fan Club, and I had a playlist that I had made. A couple of years ago. I did a 6-hour podcast called Bandsplain, where they have quote unquote experts come on to talk about certain bands, and my friend Yasi hosts it. So we did 6 hours of talking about Teenage Fan Club, and I made a
Holy
playlist
cow.
that was all the songs that we talked about in that podcast. And so I
Yeah.
listened to that. That was the soundtrack that got me out of the canyons
wow.
and up to
Nice.
Michigan Bluff, where I could get to see my crew.
Dude,
That's insane.
one time, one of our friends, he was doing a 100 miler, and if you donate it to the charity that is fundraising for, you could put any song on his playlist, and he'd have to listen to it, which is
That's mean. That's cruel.
dangerous. Is dangerous, and I donated, and I kind of feel bad for this, but I put the Beatles' Revolution #9 on it for.
Amazing, amazing.
That's rude.
I
That's
think-
rude.
I think it might have got him in the night too, which is could make you go crazy. But
Now, 6 hours sounds long, but I think Dylan Bowman has you beat with his coverage of Western states. I can't believe that guy is like talking straight for like 30 hours.
yeah,
But
seriously.
yeah, that's crazy. So let's get into Western states a little bit here because, all right, for those of you who don't know, it's a 100-mile race. It's not just, I would say, it'd be one thing if it was over like rolling hills. This is an insane terrain, and it starts off the first 3.7 miles is a climb straight up a ski slope, basically, coming out. And when you were just talking about Michigan Bluff and stuff like that, it starts off at like a 40-degree temperature, but it quickly rises to, and we thought, wow, this is a really hot Western states. It was like 90 degrees when we got to Forest Hill. Or 80, high 80s. And they're like, no, this is pretty average here. And my heart sank for the people that were out there. It was so hot and so dry. Like I was trying to think about the mental state of coming through and I just couldn't get there. Can you tell me like what it was like cresting the escarpment and then knowing that, hey, my next stop is Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, it's the race on paper does not appear very challenging. And this is something that a lot of people say. Because it is a net downhill. It's 22,000 feet of descent, and I think roughly 17,000 feet of ascent, which over the course of a 100-miler is really not that much.
Right.
It's not nothing, but it's I've run races with way more climbing and been fine. But what you go up the escarpment, and then you are at a sustained altitude of between 7,000 and 8,000 feet for a good 20 miles or so.
Yeah.
And it's exposed, and it is you're getting some breezes up there on this day. We were getting some breezes, but a lot of it is exposed, and there's not a lot of canopy on the course. And as soon as you get, and I struggled up in the high country a bit. My stomach was starting to kind of get a little rough, and I was getting a little, I wouldn't say lightheaded, but I was a little bit off from the altitude.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Seattle. I live at sea level,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I do all right with altitude. Usually, if I go visit friends in Boulder or go for a run, I might not be as talkative on the climb, but I'm not. It's not wrecking me. But for those who are not aware, they're around in the late 30 mile-ish range into the 40s. You start descending into these canyons, and if you are a mid-packer like me, that means that you are arriving in these canyons at the hottest part of the day. And I don't know, I didn't see a thermometer anywhere at the bottom of Devil's Thumb. But I would have to guess that if it was 90, 93 in Auburn, I think that day, it had to be high 90s, maybe even 100 in the canyons, because the heat is just,
hot.
it is not moving. The air, there's no
And there's
air
no
moving.
breeze.
It's radiating.
Right.
No,
Just from
it's
I was gonna say, from a spectator's point, people are so happy to make it up to escarpment. So when you first see the runners, they've been running for 3.7 miles or whatever, and there's smiles, there's joy, there's a whole group of people at the top of escarpment.
Yeah.
So I went from there to Forest Hill, and the looks on people's faces are completely different.
well, yeah,
That's
because you
mile
are now
62.
60. You're 62 miles into this. You're 100K into this race, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it was, I had, there was the old, you guys know the old adage, there's nothing new on race day. But in this particular case, because I wouldn't have a way to train with it, I had a bandana full of ice. I'm sure you saw a lot of those. And it was just full of ice. You tie it around your neck, and you can kind of hold the ice around your neck, and that keeps you cool enough that it kind of tricks your body into allowing your stomach to digest food. Is my unscientific, analysis of it, which we might get to later. And then just climbing out of that canyon, we get to the bottom of this canyon, and the guy's like, "All right, we got a 1,500-foot climb over a mile and a half, 2 miles." I live in Seattle. I go up mountains. I eat mountains for breakfast. 1,500-foot climb. Not to brag, is really nothing for me. Like that's a morning run here in Seattle.
That's runnable.
It's runnable. I don't want to be runnable, but it's definitely it's not. I don't leave it all out on the climb. That's just a morning run. That's a morning in the mountains. And I swear to God, you guys, this had to be a 10,000-foot climb. Like, there's no way this was only 1,500 feet. And I was with this group of guys, and we were moving up these switchbacks, chatting initially. We hopped in a creek, kind of throwing some water on ourselves. And about halfway up, we all started going nonverbal. No one was talking. And yeah, I got up to the top of Devil's Thumb, and I was seeing, my vision was all messed up, and I was nauseous, and I got in there, I sat down, and a volunteer came over and said, "What do you need?" And I was like, "I just need to sit." That triggered a medical person coming over, and I could hear them kind of chatting, and they're like, "Hey," and the medical guy comes up, "Hey, what's your name? Where are we?" Like, how old are you? All these kind of questions to see if I'm existing on this plane. I'm on the mortal coil, and I was like, I gotta lay down, guys. And they put me on a cot. They put 2 blankets on me, and I was shivering. It's 95 degrees, and I'm shivering under 2 blankets. This has never happened to me before. And some angel came over and was like, "I'm going to get you some broth. Do you want some rice in that broth?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's see if I can keep that down." And, I was there for 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not quite sure. But getting 2 or 3 cups of broth in me, getting some pickle juice in me, getting some electrolyte, I started to realize, as a really heavy sweater, if anybody's ever seen us play live, people are like, "Wow, that guy's really sweaty." That doesn't bode well for me as an ultra runner running through the heat of the Central Valley in California. And so I think, in hindsight, I had some mild heat stroke and electrolyte imbalance. And once I was able to get fluids and electrolytes back into me, I was able to at least get out of there. But at that point, you're at mile 49, and for anybody who's ever done, any endurance distance, any long distance, it doesn't have to be a 100-miler. There is something psychologically, there's something psychological about hurting that badly and being not even halfway through the race. Because you're so messed up. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this whole distance again.
Yeah,
I'm not even halfway.
Right.
But Ben, let me ask you a question. When you're sitting on the cot, and you said you were there for 45 minutes to an hour, there's a 30-hour cutoff for the finish. Are you already feeling the pressure of the clock ticking?
No, because I've never struggled with cutoffs. I can move fast enough to make cutoffs. The only way I wasn't going to make them is if I completely lost the ability to run. And there was a period for a couple miles where I couldn't run, and I was able to kind of pull myself together, power through it, and be like, well, let's just try to run. Let's try to run the next 100 yards. You can walk, then walk 50. And then, well, actually, this is starting to feel okay. And then I was able to, as much as it felt like hammering. I was able to hammer the descent back into the second canyon, which involved the climb out of that canyon was a lot more gradual. It was at this point 6 p.m., 6:30. I'm way ahead of cutoffs, but now it's starting to cool down, and by cool down, I mean it's 80 degrees, not 100 degrees. And as a Northwesterner, it's 80 degrees is a heat wave, literally a heat wave here. I mean, I was driving back. My friend and I who were driving back up from the race, I dropped her off at her place in South Seattle, and I was listening to the Mariners game on the way to my house.
Nice.
And the announcer was like, "It's 82 degrees. It's a heat wave here in Seattle." I'm just laughing, like, "You got to be kidding me, man! Like, this is nothing about like 48 hours ago, So yeah, and long story short, and we can keep talking about it, of course. But once I saw my crew at Michigan Bluff, and I got my feet worked on, and I got some more broth and some more food in me, there was no question I was going to finish the race. There was no doubt. I was getting a pacer at 62, and
what
at that point,
what does feet getting worked on entail?
So I had developed. So one of the things about this race, about Western States, is, if you want to survive, you need to stay wet as much of the time as possible. In the sense that a lot of the advice I got from veterans of the race were, if you see a creek, get in it. If there's an opportunity for somebody to use, they had buckets full of sponges. Go over to the sponge person, have them, put water on your arms, your head, your legs, everything. Ice bandana full of ice, that's melting. Ice in the hat, that's melting. All of that water is going one place. It's going down to your feet, right? Excellent. So you are running with soggy socks, even if you have the best wicking socks or shoes in the world. You are running with wet feet for a lot of the race. And so I developed a pretty severe blister on my right back heel. My two big toenails were starting to come off. They were starting to disconnect because of the downhill. And there's so much downhill, you're just jamming your toes in the shoe the whole time. And I started to develop a blister underneath my right foot. So the medical staff, the blister team at Michigan Bluff is arguably the best in the world. At any race you could possibly go to. So I got in this chair, they kicked me up, my feet up, and they just started going to town. And by the time they had me all bandaged up, they'd wrapped my toes, they had put some a bunch of tape and stuff on my heel, on the floor of my foot, got my shoes, got new socks, dry socks, new pair of shoes, and I felt like $1 million. They have saved innumerable people's races with the work that they do at Michigan
awesome.
Bluff. And there were other blister and foot care specialists throughout the race. I got my feet worked on 3 different times on the race.
Oh, wow.
And so you mentioned switching shoes. One of the reasons that you're on here is because we wanted to talk about the new shoe you have coming out with Speedland. Were you wearing that shoe, or which model were you wearing for the race?
So I did not have enough time. There were some things we were going to change on the prototype of my shoe. I had only gotten the prototype a couple weeks before when we shot to shoot some of the promo. So okay. I didn't have enough time I didn't have enough time in that shoe to feel comfortable starting a 100-miler with it. So I ran the first half of the race in a pair of Brooks Calderas, which were a go-to shoe for me along with the Speedlands, because because I'd run other hundreds in those, and I wanted to start out with something that was a complete known quantity for me.
Yeah.
I ran Tillamook 50 mile in the Speedland PDXs, and that went pretty well. But I wanted to start. I wanted everything that I was starting the race with to be things that I had done long trail stuff with, and I had perfect
That makes
results
sense.
with. And that is, obviously, the shoe that I've designed with Speedland, the stuff that they're doing is impeccable. But I had never done that long of an event in that shoe, so I wanted to start with
Yeah.
something that I knew I knew a little more familiar. I was more familiar with. But at I changed into the Cocodonas, the Speedland Cocodonas.
Yeah, the burgundy color or rusty orange color.
Yeah. So I changed into the Cocodonas at Forest Hill, and they just crushed. They felt
Nice.
really, really good, especially in the midsole, especially the Speedlands are such a nimble, light shoe, but the cushion and everything was just a really clutch juxtaposition to what I've been running them.
Like a tranny change, like a transmission change. Hey, so when you come into Forest Hill, you've been alone out there pretty much. Yeah, there's small areas where you're getting your feet worked on, Michigan Bluff and that kind of stuff. But this is like one of the first stops where you're going to see like civilization again. There's like taco trucks and people, waiting there for, all the brands are lined up on the street. What was it like going from kind of like that quiet spaces to all of a sudden, you're 62 miles in. Here's like what almost feels like a finish line, I would think.
Well, it didn't quite feel like a finish line when I got there at 9 p.m. I think if you're there when Killian and Caleb are coming through,
that's
when he was there.
You know what I mean? Like that's a different vibe. That's a different vibe. And I've been there watching the elites come through. I was there last year watching Walmsley come through.
Yeah.
And a lot of the brands pack up after the elites go through. Like there's because I think my guess is. There's a lot of media following the elites, so your brand is going to be seen in the background of Killian running down the street. Slightly less media when I went through.
There was a time where we did have to to get to the finish to see Caleb roll in. So there was like somewhat of a, hey, if you're going to go watch the lead guys you get to the high school. There was some of us that left, but if I had known, we would have waited for you.
Well, it was cool. I mean, it was so cool. The Speedland guys were waiting for me there, and
Kevin.
And it was Kevin was there. That was great to see him, and there was still energy there. It just wasn't 3 p.m. Elite energy, right? Or maybe noon. I don't know when those guys came through. But getting a chance to see crew, change clothes. Or you change the top, get a headlamp.
How many hours are you in at this point?
I guess I went through a little after around 8:30, I think. So this is hour 15 and a half. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, but at this point, like we're getting this done. I mean, at this point, 38 miles is nothing. It's like, let's just, and there's enough time that even if we had to, I'm hiking 4 miles an hour. So it's like, if we had to hike it, I could power hike it. We're getting it done. And once I was off 24-hour pace, I didn't care about time. Because I think you have to approach Western States as this is the only opportunity you're going to get to do it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get in since 2016. And finally got on the wait list, and the wait list cleared far enough. I saw a couple of comments on some of the posts that people were posting about me that were like, "Oh, he must have got in because he's a celebrity." And I was like, number one, that's hilarious if you think I'm a celebrity. Number two, that's not how this works, man. Like this is they don't give these you don't get one because you've recorded some albums.
So do you think Jim Walmsley, DNS, was your entry.
That
in?
was the one.
Well, it was funny because I'm buddies with Jamil Corey, who
Oh, yeah.
you know, he does Aerovipa, and he was training for Western States, and
He had a rough
you
day.
know, somebody had,
Oh.
yeah, he had a really rough day, yeah, but he got it done, you know. But
Yeah.
he made some post and he was training and he was like, yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna run it or not, and I kind of got in on his DM on his comments like, yeah, man, I don't know, I think you should really focus on hard rock, you know. He's probably because I don't know, you also got hard rock coming up, you don't want to burn yourself out, you know. But I mean, we were just kind of goofing about that, but no, I didn't recognize the person whose spot I took, but I guess the wait list cleared everybody but 2 people, which is insane.
Oh, wow.
I saw. So it was right by the escarpment where he twisted his ankle real bad. He was coming down. You know how you came up and over, and then there's that kind of like turn that goes down to the valley. It was right there. It was like
Wait,
a
he
loose
twisted his
rock.
ankle that early?
Yeah.
Oh,
that and he just stood there angry. You could see like, you know, like when you twist your ankle and you get mad.
No, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if that guy's gonna, you know, dig it out because you're not even 4 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's a testament to. I think also too there was, you know, I'm flaking on the dude's name. No, I think it was Adam Peterson. I could be wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong in the post. But you know, I think there's something. Me and my crew were talking about it. It's really cool when you see seasoned or elite ultra runners who are struggling on something like Western States, and they stick it out and they finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to the elites that we're expecting. I don't think Jamil was going to. You know, Jamil was not. I'm sure if you. I think it's safe to say Jamil was not looking to win the race, but you know, something like Adam Peterson was kind of chosen to be he's a contender, right? And a lot of the elites will once they're no longer in contention for the podium, they might just live to fight another day, which makes perfect sense. I don't.
Are you
there's
talking
no
about
shade in
David
that.
Roche?
Not necessarily Roche. I think, but I think Adam Peterman, he finished the whole race. He was in 40th or something like that. He certainly he finished much farther back than I'm sure he wanted to, but he finished the race just to finish the race. And you know, people can do what they want. I'm not. There's no. I don't know David Roche, but I do admire. I admire him. So it's.
I will tell you,
throwing any
watching
shade at anybody.
watching his decision at Forest Hill, I took a photo where I feel like every once in a while you capture a photo where you can almost see what the person's thinking, and you can see the anguish. So I have no ill wishes towards anybody who is out there on the course. But it is something that, like, even in marathons, there's been times where you wish people finish just to, even if they're not going to be at the top, because that's a race. That's you get a chance. Ben could beat, you know, a Jamil, and this is your only chance. You know, it's like, you know.
Well, I think I want to be very clear about this because I don't want anybody to get it twisted. Like, it is if you know, Roche's decision to drop was his decision, and you know, I, as a person who dropped from races for multiple reasons, completely support it and understand it. You know, he was not having the day he wanted to have, and he wanted to save. I'm assuming he wanted to save some bullets for later in the season. That makes perfect sense. But I also and I respect that decision. What I also respect is the decision of an elite to finish the race for the sake of finishing it, and also seemingly with respect for the people who couldn't get in the race.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm going to
totally
finish this thing. I got in. I'm going to finish it. And one is not right, one is not wrong. But I think it's really cool when people, like, you know, Jamil is having a really bad day out there.
Yeah.
And by his own admission, we were DMing about it afterwards. He didn't have the day he wanted to have, right? But he stuck it out and he finished it. And I think, you know, that's you know, some days there have been days that I have finished things that I did not want to finish, and there's days that I bailed on it. And so, but I think with this race in particular,
it can be contagious. Though that's the worry that I have, is especially when you are used to operating at a very high level, and if you're not operating at the level you expect yourself to operate at, and you quit, then the next time you don't struggle maybe through, because again you're like, okay, this isn't my race, this isn't my day,
Right.
we've seen some pros that it becomes almost a habit. That's the only thing I would worry about in choosing the DNF over struggling through something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's, this is my hobby. This is my passion. I don't make a living doing this, right? Having said that, I've known some professional athletes in various varying kind of disciplines that once they are no longer elite, they do not want to do the sport anymore. And I understand why people might feel that way, but I also really admire, specifically in the running community, people who have been champions or been elite and just like to run. They just like to go out and run, and they don't. And I mean, I remember, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out on this, but like I remember, I was volunteering at Chuck and a 50K a couple of years ago, and Hal Kerner was running it. He just kind of came through with like
Hal's awesome.
middle of the pack, Yeah, I mean, he just had a big smile on his face, having a great time, and that it takes a particular type of person to kind of have been a champion, have been an elite runner, and just continue enjoying running for the sake of running and being in the community. And I really admire those kind of people. And Hal's a legend.
Yeah, he is.
Definitely. So then you came through. What'd you end up finishing in 26, 27?
Yeah, like 27:15, I think. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And so what was the post-race experience like, or how'd you feel after you came across? And I guess
like are you dying, but as soon as you finish the cross line, you're like, I could do a 5K.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when my pacer and I were running. Once we saw Hal and Scott Jurek at their aid station, I think around mile 90-ish or something like that.
Oh,
and
that'll
sun's
get
coming
you
up
pumped across the finish line for sure.
Yeah, well, they fed me a bunch of food, and I threw it all up 200 yards down the trail. I went around. I was kind of struggling with nausea at that point. And I just kind of like I ate some broth with rice, and I had a couple quesadillas.
Was it the mileage or the heat?
Just my stomach was going on me.
Just
I think
everything.
what it was that usually overnight when I run hundreds, most of the hundreds that I've ran, I've finished 5 of them now, and
Wow.
3 of them have been like mountainous, like they're in the mountains. So it's like it gets cooler at night, and so you don't have to employ the heat mitigation tactics you do during the day. And so during the day, I'll usually do gels, Coke, ginger ale, whatever. I can't eat real food. But at night is when I get ravenous, and give me 4 quesadillas. I'll take that breakfast burrito, But with the last, the overnight on Western States was unique because it was still hot, and I had gone from a long sleeve sun hoodie to a singlet. And I had gotten rid of the ice bandana. And I think if I had it to do over again, I would have stuck with the ice the entire race.
Oh, wow. Even at night?
Because getting into the canyons, it's 80 degrees in the air. There's no air moving. So it's not 100, but it's still very hot. And my stomach, I started to struggle to digest food.
And the ground's probably radiating heat as well.
Yeah. It's all
I mean,
around
there were some sections of that course where the daytime heat is just sitting in the canyons. It's not moving. So I was really struggling. I was thrown up every 3 or 4 miles, and then kind of trying to figure out what I could keep down. And I was like, well, broth and rice, that's easy. But I also just didn't want to eat gels anymore. They just sounded disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ate a lot of food. I ate a lot of food. Yeah, I ate a lot of food at
that.
Hal's aid station, and then it just all came up, and we're like, all right, well, let's go. Like that didn't stay down.
Some of it had to stay down, right?
Yeah, but we ran a decent amount of that last 15 miles, and then going over no hands and going up the climb to Robbe. You could hear people up there. I knew my crew was up there, so once we got up there, I was like, I want to get this thing done, dude. Like.
Yeah.
And I just took off. I took off from Robbe, and they're like, "Oh, I thought we were hiking this in. I thought, you want to run this?" I'm like, "Dude, I want to get this done. Like, I've been out here way longer than I wanted to be." So, but also it's the adrenaline of people cheering, and there's a drone over top following me, and
you have to look. You have to look good for the drone. You can't just be walking.
Oh yeah,
along.
man, absolutely. Yeah, I got to look like I was running the whole time. Like how'd you come in 27 hours if you're running the whole time?
Well, that was great. Like at the track, everybody runs at the track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to run at the track. Yeah, you got to run at the track.
People were running sideways.
Yeah, dude. But it was, it was just the excitement, and I had been dreaming about that finish. I've seen so many of my friends finish there. I've seen footage of the elites finishing. I've seen the golden hour, and it's just there's no more iconic finish in ultra running than that track.
I was a little surprised at, well, we went and watched the elites, and that was really cool, but it didn't get me teared up. Golden hour got me teared up. Like
Oh yeah.
I went to golden hour. I don't know if you were there, but we were fortunate enough to have like a press pass, so I could be like right in people's faces with the camera and really see like what was going on. And I didn't know that it was going to happen. I started losing it. Like a tear just started coming out of my eyes with these people just finishing in like that dazed and confused look of like, I did it. And do you have the buckle with you right now?
I'm actually wearing it right now, so I'm like,
Stand up, yeah.
Right
There it is, baby. Looks good.
I'm making this my entire personality for like 7 days. So I'm gonna wear it for a week, then it's gonna go on. It's gonna go on a little shelf. But I'm wearing it like it's I actually brought for motivation. I brought this belt with no buckle on it, and I told my crew,
nice. That's cool.
if I'm starting to struggle or think about dropping, like hand me this belt and be like, you're going home with no belt buckle. Like it's like
self-flagellating.
So
Yeah.
exactly. Probably totally.
Championship belt, hold it above your head. I love it.
It is funny what can motivate us to do something like that. Like I remember my first marathon, I just really wanted that medal. And I remember going through, you don't know what you know at that point. And I was like, I just was going to run to that medal.
Yeah.
Later on, it became the finishing beer or something like that.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you crossed the finish line, and we saw some photos. They sit you down with Dylan Bowman and probably had you on stage giving some of your coherent thoughts. And then what is the first thing that you're craving at the end of this race? Is it a shower?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. My stomach was still pretty rough. So I was ravenous but not hungry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The idea of eating, it's like I'd like to say like I sent a crew member to get a burrito and I ate it in 5 seconds. I did that later that night, but
Right.
I was dealing with some pretty severe chafing after I got out of the river.
Oh, wow.
And so, they kind of, it was like Billy Yang who pulled me. He's like, "Hey, you want to come to the media tent?" And I was like, "Sure, man. I'm on adrenaline right now." So I went and talked to them for a bit. But yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to get out of these shoes because, there are two pieces of advice or two things I learned on this race that, one of them I kind of knew, but ignored. And the other one I did not know. The first one we already discussed. Like if you run Western States, and it's a hot year, which it always is, try going overnight wearing with ice or cooling mechanisms. And if if you don't like it, if it's too cold, you can drop it. You can get rid of you can take the bandana off and dump the ice out if you're too cold.
Yeah.
But if you're hot, you can't make yourself cooler, right?
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, you got to bring a bigger pair of shoes. You got to bring at least a half size or full size up from the shoes you start in, because your feet are going to swell anyways because of just running an ultramarathon. But also, there's so much downhill that my toes were just.
Yeah.
In the Speedlands felt really good, but as I kept going, when I got my feet worked on at mile 85 for the third time, the guy could barely get the shoe back on my foot.
Oh, wow.
And this is a shoe that I slip on like it's no big deal when I'm going leaving my house for a run. He was like jamming it on my foot. And I was screaming in pain because he was going over a blister to get it on. So I just wanted to get those shoes off. I wanted into the slides, the recovery slides. I wanted them so bad. I was like, I want to take these. I love these shoes. They've served me so well, but get them off my feet. I just want to get in slides, take the socks off, and assess the damage.
Definitely.
Did you unlock any new Ben Gibbard personalities on the course, or find any shadows?
There weren't any demons out there. I DNF'd a race a couple years ago. I was going through a separation, and I tried to run 100 miles in a very very when I was in a very not great place in my life, and I learned that you can fuel an ultra marathon with joy, you can fuel it with anger, you can fuel it with laughter. You can't fuel it with sadness. You can't. It's really hard. I mean, at least for me, I can't. Like, people trying to. It's hard. Because you're already in a vulnerable emotional place, and then you're putting yourself into an event where you are going to experience incredibly low lows, and they are going to exponentially make you feel worse. At least they did for me. But I don't have any of that now. I'm happy with where I am in my life. And it's been, time has passed, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to finish the thing. So I think, I was saying this to my crew, and it's oversimplifying it, of course, but 100 miler is both incredibly difficult and incredibly easy. And it's incredibly difficult because for a large portion of it, if you're feeling bad, if things are going poorly early on in the process, before you're at halfway point or whatever, you can't conceive of finishing it. We talked about it earlier with Devil's Thumb. I can't conceive of finishing this thing right now. But then there's a point where it tips over, where at least if you're moving at a decent enough clip, you just walk and run when you feel okay and eat enough food and you'll get it done. I mean, by the end of it, I was starting to contemplate the 200 miler. I was starting to think like, oh man, I guess if I started out from a better place with my feet, I could see how this could work. I could see how I could do Cocodona.
Yeah.
But no plans for that. But I don't think I really. I didn't really learn. I mean, you learn a little bit about yourself in every 100 miler and every ultra and every marathon. You learn something about yourself. I think I learned that I was able to pull myself out of the hole. I did it myself. Like, the volunteers there to help me at Devil's Thumb.
Sure.
But that there wasn't a crew. I didn't have a crew member, a close friend there giving me props, like trying to get me to go. I was by myself, and I had to motivate myself to do it. And I think that's the thing that I'm sort of answering your question. I'm sort of not. But that's the moment in the race that I'm the most proud of, that I was able to dig myself out of that hole. I didn't need somebody coming over and trying to motivate me. I was able to get up and get out the door myself.
I think that's the strength that a lot of people are looking for when they do an ultra, is to kind of like test themselves and see, hey, do I have the strength within myself, mentally, physically, to be self-reliant? And I think that's a really good takeaway, is that, sometimes it's not going to be a friend or a family member. It's got to come from deep inside.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, there is no reason to do this. Real, you know what I mean? No one is making me do this. This is something I chose to do myself. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this when people find out that you run marathons or ultras. It's like, people will say things like, you must be crazy or something like that.
Right.
And my response is kind of like, well, I can give you a silly answer if you want, and we can move on to another subject, or I can answer your question. I can give you a real answer, or I can give you a silly answer. It's your choice. And if like, no, I want the real one, it's like, well, when's the last time you tried? Yeah. I mean, to oversimplifying it, or just to kind of put it in very, crisp terms, it's, when's the last time that you tried to do something hard just to see if you could do it?
Right. Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, everyone always says the thing, oh, I can't believe you run that far. I don't even want to drive that far. And it's like, but you're right. I feel like, especially now when we have so many things that are keep us comfortable. We have DoorDash, we have social media at our fingertips, and everything comes to us. For most people, there's no real difficulties, and it's like, but that's part of the human existence, is finding that you have to have difficulties to progress as a person.
Well, it's like a building brick, I think. Like if you're afraid and you're scared, and then you overcome that fear or something like that,
it takes you to the
it's
next.
no longer
right.
the demon that it was.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I don't think that everybody should be doing marathons or ultra marathons, and nor do I think that the specific challenge of running 100 miles through the mountains is something that, it's at its core, it's a privilege. It's
For
a privilege
sure.
to do that. It's a privilege
Yeah.
to have.
To run in general usually is a privilege. Yeah.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege. It's a privilege from a time perspective, from an accessibility perspective, there a lot of people in this country are struggling to just get through the day,
Yeah.
for myriad reasons, which we're all somewhat familiar with, right? But in my life, and this has become an incredibly important activity, an incredibly important series of challenges I give myself to problem solve things in real time. And I find that, the problem solving, the pulling yourself out of a hole, all the things that come with endurance activity, these skills that you learn through marathons or ultra running are applicable in other places in your life. And they are not the only way to learn these skills, but they are the method by which I have chosen to do that.
Right.
Well, we talk about privilege and all that stuff, but to me, you can layer that on anything. That's kind of like a modern schmear of stuff. For me, there's a spiritual aspect to running, a meditation. I don't know what it does, but it does pull you out of your regular consciousness. And like you were talking about the flow state earlier, that sometimes you don't want to listen to music to get in the flow state. I do believe that running can help you get to a place that you can't get by other means, with drugs, alcohol, even regular meditation. There's something that I remember when I was training for my first marathon, it was almost like I floated outside of myself, looked down on myself and said, hey, I'm proud of you for struggling through this and doing something in a positive direction. And I think that we think of it as a treat for people, and that we're lucky enough to be out there. But it's a character building tool. So it is a treat and stuff like that. But it's also like, it's a really good thing for character building and finding out about yourself, which we're all here to do.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I would kind of augment what you said a little bit. I do think that people have different ways of achieving this flow and this zen, and for some people it is meditation, some people it is psychedelic therapy, yoga, religion, whatever it might be. This is just mine, and I think that as humans on this planet, we need effective methods of shutting off the noise and being with ourselves and achieving a state of zen or flow. And running it's unfortunate for me that requires about 70 miles of trail to get there. It would, but it's my favorite way to get there.
5K, right?
I wish I could. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I used to be able to, but it's like a drug. You kind of have to go further to get it.
Totally.
Let me ask you a question. Would you rather run a 100-mile race or a really hard 5K, like all out 5K?
100 miler all the way. Yeah, I'm not fast. I'm not fast. The idea of redlining is just is not interesting to me at all. I don't want to redline. I want to go party pace. I want to pull over for a while, eat some food, make some jokes, poop in the woods. All those things that are fun on an ultra.
You could puke 20 times in the span of 20 minutes, or you could do it in the span of 100 miles.
And I think like, one of the things I love so many things about this sport. I could talk forever about it, but you need some shoe. You need a pair of shoes. maybe some wicking material. And
one pair of
you know, when
shoes.
you yeah, exactly. And, I mean, but you know, when compared to other
Yeah.
sports, other physical activities where you need to have a membership to a gym, or you have to have the equipment, or you have to have more people, you have to have at least X number of people to do it, you have to have a certain size field to do it, you need to live in an area that has this and that, A, B, and C. I mean, it my you know, my entry into running was, you know, again, as I said earlier, well, let's hop on a treadmill, see if I can run 2 miles. And then like, I don't like running on the treadmill. I'm gonna go explore my neighborhood on foot. I'm gonna run and maybe I'll walk a little bit.
Yeah.
The guys at Free Trail have make this sweatshirt that says "Trail running will save the world," and on first kind of read, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the more you dig into it, you start to realize that this community of trail runners, uh, we love being in nature, and the more people who do that means the more people want to preserve these wild spaces and these public lands. The sense of community, spending your weekend getting no sleep to help somebody achieve a goal, feel in some ways feels like you also achieve that goal. And it's just it really is an exercise in collective action, and it feels to me so much more like growing up punk than anything else in my life, of just like
Yeah.
we all get together, we do this thing because we love doing it, we have nothing to gain other than the satisfaction of having done it,
Yeah.
and being
Quick
a part of a
question.
community, being something large of ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you said growing up punks, which made me think of something I wanted to ask you. So the first time I had heard of Bremerton was from an MXPX album called
Yeah,
Move
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
Bremerton. I feel like there can't be that many bands from Bremerton, right? Like, I mean, maybe in the 90s, since that was the hot period for Seattle,
Yeah.
but Bremerton's still a small town. But anyways, I just was thinking about that. I was like, that's where you're from. Has to be a pretty small community there. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, I knew one of those guys who, it was Tom, who'd gone to my high school, and then after high school, I think he joined that band.
Okay,
But they
gotcha.
went to like a rival high school, and we were kind of in different circles.
Right, right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's MXPX and me, I think, and Rob
Okay,
Skinner
all
from this
right.
band. Yeah, and there's a band called Coffin Break that was on Epitaph in the early '90s.
Okay, gotcha.
And the
And
singer
Epitaph.
Rob Skinner went. Yeah, Coffin Break went to our high school. Rob from Coffin Break went to our high school, and he was like our rock star because he had gotten out of Bremerton. He was
Gotcha.
he was on Epitaph, and he was like making records and touring. We're like, oh my god, he's amazing. So he was
Yeah.
who we aspired to be like.
Nice. Okay.
I know we're wrapping up to our hour here, but I did want to ask you one final question, because you mentioned you've run 5 100-milers, and you joked around about a 200-mile, but you've proven that you can do it. You've taken the challenge. You've done it. You've done it on multiple courses now. How do you continue to feel motivated and challenged by running and maybe that distance that you would be willing to do it again?
I had to DNF my third 100 attempt. I did Cascade Crest in 2016. I did I Am Tough in Idaho in 2017, which is a phenomenal event. And I got it in my mind that I needed to do 100 every year. Like, this will be
Oh, wow.
this will be the thing I do once a year. I will pick 100 and I will do it. And I signed up for this race called the Teanaway Country 100 in outside of Cle Elum, Washington. And my friend Brian was putting it on, and I decided, well, that sounds like a cool race to do. And I DNF'd for multiple reasons, but one of them was that I just didn't have a why. I had no connection to this event. I just wanted to do 100. And I've learned for myself that there needs to be a very clear why when it comes to doing anything over 100K, specifically a 100-miler. And it has to be because I have some connection to the race, to the land, that it's on some bucket list of things that I have. And that led me to running the Headlands 100 in 2019, which was 4 25-mile loops
Oh, wow.
in the Marin Headlands, and they were washing machine loops. So one would go one way, then you go the other way.
Okay.
And I chose that because my first trail race was that Golden Gate 30K. And I love running in that area of the country. I love the Bay Area so much. And I wanted to go back and run 100 miles on the trails that I ran my first trail race on. That was the motivation. And it was a joyous, wonderful experience. So, and of course, Western States, bucket list of any ultra runner. Of course, I was going to do that. But, as I move forward, I was joking with somebody that like Western States was going to be my retirement from 100s. But I don't think that's true. But I've learned that there needs to be a very distinct and very clear why when it comes to overnight or multiple overnight events. And I have yet to kind of I am what 5 days out of finishing Western States. I just before I got on this call, I was draining my toenails. Of all the before they fall off. So I'm not ready to even think about
You're
that.
not an
In
ultra
fact,
sign up.
No, I have a friend. I was going to pace a friend at Cascade Crest 100 in 2 weeks, and I went to have lunch with him yesterday, telling stories from Western States. And I was like, "Okay, Cascade Crest, what are we doing?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I think I'm going to have somebody else pace me because she's running a 200, needs the miles." I'm like, "Oh, thank fucking God, dude! I can't." I was like, "Dude, I'm so relieved to not be having to do that." But if something arises that seems like it makes sense and it's something I have a passion for, I'll do it. But I'm also just really content doing stage races. I did a really great stage race in Europe last year called Transalpine, which I want to go back to and do again. It was 7 days.
I did the Trans Rockies, and it's so much fun.
Right? Oh my God, it was so fun. I mean, it was one of the best weeks of my life. And my partner and I, who I ran with, my running partner, we want to go back and do it again next year.
Nice.
So
It's like adult.
I just want to make
summer camp.
Yeah, man, it was so good, and so as I move forward, I just want to, I want to make sure that I can do this as late into my life as possible, and that involves being smart about what I choose to do and why, and to not just create arbitrary running goals that are based more in keeping up with the Joneses or maintaining an image as like a hardened ultra runner.
Yeah.
I want to do stuff that's fun and that I want to do, and I really wanted to do Western States, so I did it.
And for those listening on the musical side, you're also have the Plans 20-year anniversary tour this summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing it's not so much a tour as it is like six. We're doing like 6 shows.
Right. It's like New York
and
the West Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Chicago, New York, and Seattle, and we kind of determined. We obviously really squeezed the lemon of revival tours with the Death Cab Postal Service tour.
I was at that show, by the way. I was at the Merriweather
show. Oh, you were?
show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Merriweather's great, man. I love that place.
Yeah.
And we had such a good time. And we felt, I think the 2 records in our catalog that are kind of the most kind of impactful for us and maybe for the people who like the band is obviously Transatlanticism, and then Plans was our big breakthrough record.
Yeah.
So we wanted to play some shows to celebrate it, but we didn't want to do a tour. And also we're making a record in September, so
Nice.
We're making a new record. So we want to remind people that we want to strike a balance of acknowledging our history, acknowledging the records that mean a lot to people, while also reminding people that we are an active band and we make new music. And whether or not people are interested or not, we're continuing to make new music.
Can I give one geek out moment, and then that's
of course, yeah.
I promise
absolutely.
that's it. All right, so I brought something with that I have to show you. That it's a total geek out moment, but when I was in college, this is Transatlanticism, and when that came out, I was like obsessed with it. It's probably like half the reason I got married was because I put all the songs on a mixtape on a mix CD. But I went to you played at Club Laga in Pittsburgh, and with Ben Queller, and this was like
Okay.
I wrote for my school newspaper, so I snuck the press pass, and I got backstage, which I didn't have permission to be. So I just flashed my press pass to the security guard. There's the Ticketmaster stub, by the way, $17 for the show.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
$17. Wow.
Yeah, and then so I actually did, like, I brought these like photos of you that I that like.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Holy
Like that's
shit.
you. I think that's title and registration when you play.
Yeah, definitely, because I was playing the pads. Yeah, for sure. Oh,
And
that's
then
amazing.
like obviously like with your, I think is that a Fender Mustang? Yeah,
It's a Bullet. It's a Fender Bullet.
Okay, and then yeah,
Yeah.
I was like literally right there for the whole show, and I was like totally geeking out because it was my favorite album at the time, and honestly probably top 10 albums ever. So that is my fanboy moment. I had to do it.
Dude,
but
that's
I just
awesome, man. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. It was like, that's okay. I'm Robbie, but that's all right.
But I'll take
Oh, shit,
credit
sorry.
for
I got
it.
the name. Sorry, my bad.
I'll take credit for it.
I understand. But anyways, I do want to say that is like Transatlanticism top 10 album for me, and it's like has always meant a lot. So this is a very weird, like
Full
circle coming together.
This is one band that I would say Robbie and I agree on as well, like for different reasons. Like I'm a little bit older than Robbie, and so when I was going through your albums, each one, like I was saying, takes me back to a place. And for some reason, you were always around for a breakup. So thank you for that.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like in closing, I kind of, there are these moments sometimes where people will come up and be like, let's say something like, I listened to you in high school or whatever, and they're now in their 30s or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody will say something like, I hope that doesn't feel weird or whatever. And, I'm first and foremost, I'm a music fan, right? I mean, I'm a music, and the music that was important to me in those formative years of my life is the music that is a lot of the music that I still listen to today, and I still find it works as a time machine. It takes me back to that point in my life, but it also a lot of it is recontextualized for where I am in my life now and where I've been throughout my life.
Yeah.
So, for someone to have had this music be important to them at a point in their life, and now 20 some years later, for it still to be,
Still cares,
if not as important, still a part of someone's life is an unbelievable honor and privilege. And I never tire. I mean,
See,
we're not getting any younger, right? So it's like,
I love this because when I was backstage at Merriweather for one of the HF festivals, and Fix came through, and it was one of the first cassettes I ever purchased. Saved by Zero. Loved the song. Went up to the guy and said, "Hey, I had a poster of you on my bedroom when I was a kid." And he looked at me and he just looked so deflated, like, "Oh, jeez." But
I mean, but come on, man. It's like, but it's also,
Right.
that's bullshit. It's like, dude, it's like, I'm 48 years old, almost 49. I've been doing this since I've been in this band since 1997.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that people still care at all
That's
is
amazing.
an unbelievable gift, an unbelievable privilege. And to, I'm not trying to make fun, I'm not trying to diss those guys, but I'm just saying, like, look, it's, write a song, to make something that exists in the fabric of someone's life is just an unbelievably humbling thing. And I will not give a shit when, like, I am, somebody comes up and says, my grandkids love you. Like, I'm not going to care. If anything, selfishly, that means there's just more. That just means that's a new fan that might be coming to the show. So but it's all good, man.
So the last question, but what was it, a premonition or a precursor? I don't know, prophecy that on We Have the Facts We're Voting Yes, there were runners on the cover of that album.
No, the people who did that design were just some friends of our guitar player.
Oh, really?
And we were really into, you can tell in some of the early song titles and album titles. We were really into non sequitur. We're really into just absurd titles.
Right.
Our first record was called Something About Airplanes because I was dating a woman who was a school teacher at that point, and she asked her kids what they wanted to learn about, and this kid said something about airplanes. So that's why it was. So we just. So yeah, no. So the fact that there were runners on it was a complete.
That's hilarious.
You should have just said yes,
like,
absolutely. I had foreshadowing. Going
Oh,
on
totally,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I knew. I had a premonition that I'd be a runner someday.
I'm in touch with the universe.
Yeah.
All right. So when does your Speedland shoe come out? So can you tell everyone that?
Yeah, Speedland shoe comes out in August.
Okay.
I don't know the exact release date, but I'm just absolutely over the moon about it.
Dude, that shoe looks so good. That's the best colorway they've done yet.
It's so sick, and when we were talking, we were in the design. I mean, they did the design. I just kind of gave them some tips, but it's like, the fact that the little TMT on the shoe is the logo for the Tiger Mountain Trail, which is our local kind of hill here. And then putting the Doug fir on there. That's from the the Doug fir that's on the side of the tree is taken from the Cascadian flag, which Cascadia, for those who are not familiar, is a bioregion that that kind of encapsulates parts of BC, Washington, and Oregon. So the Cascadian flag is kind of the flag of this particular bioregion that kind of transcends state and national borders. I really liked the kind of the thicker midsole, the kind of a higher stack height of the PDX, but I wanted more aggressive lugs. I wanted a more aggressive outsole, because running on Tiger Mountain in the winter, we're fortunate here that it gets cold, but it's not so cold that you can't run year round outside. You can only get above certain altitudes, but Tiger Mountain is accessible pretty much most of the year, but it is very muddy. So when that was the first volley they sent over, was that shoe.
Okay.
There was no back and forth in the design.
Yeah.
They just like, what do you think of this? And I was like, perfect. That's
Nice.
great. Like, we don't have to like think much more about that. And I was just really, I was just totally, I love it. I mean, it's such a nimble shoe. Again, we made a couple changes, just some, they're not even worth mentioning, but a couple small changes from the prototype to the shoe that's coming out in August. And I think that it's going to be a really good shoe for long sustained efforts, especially if you live in a region where you're dealing with a lot of muck and mud, and it's a perfect Northwest shoe.
Sure.
So I can't wait to just start shredding in it.
That's awesome.
All right.
This was fantastic, by the way. You did not let us down. Big fans.
Okay, well, I'm glad, man.
I
I didn't let you down. I try not to.
Yeah, I know.
I had a lot of fun, too.
You're worried about it.
Congrats
And Robbie,
on your
sorry about getting a name switch. I saw it on your on the it's your names are like under
backwards.
different ones of
Oh,
you
it
on
does?
this thing,
Okay.
so I got a little twisted.
You're totally cool, man.
Okay.
Yeah, and congrats on your finish.
Awesome,
That's
dude.
an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, man. That was beautiful.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, hopefully you guys are in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Next time we're in Baltimore, we got to go for a run.
Let's do it.
That'd be
Let's do a
awesome.
trail run for
We'll
sure.
take you out to Patapsco.
Yep.
All right, let's do it, man. I'm down.
All right. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you later, Ben.
All right, see you guys.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty